Today I'd like to show you a little quick tutorial on very basic pleats. So I'm actually starting out with a basic shape here. I've got a rectangle and a pencil. And I'm just actually not going to work with an image. I'm just going to work with this because I just want to give you the basic idea or the concept behind how I put my pleats in. And there's difference between pleats and actual fabric folds. And this tutorial is for actual pleats. Okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is decide where I want my light source. And now I'm left-handed, so my light source is typically coming from the left. So that's just to start out with, that's where mine is going to be. Now, on this image, I'm actually going to be putting in some pleats up here at the top, and I'm just going to take my pencil and I'm just going to gently draw in my pleats where I might want those pleats to be. Okay? And now if I want to get really fancy, I can actually go ahead and put some pleats here at the bottom too. And now this is going to give me a real zigzaggy kind of look. Sometimes if you don't want the real zigzaggy, just put the pleats on the top. You don't need the pleats on the bottom. But I'm just going to show you how to do this. Okay? Now you don't always have to use pencil. I'm just doing that for the sake of the video. What I like to do a lot of times is just go in with my darkest marker. And here I'm using my B26. And I will put those lines in with my darkest marker. Okay, and I'm just sketching them in. I'm not being real particular. This is an actual process that does take quite a while. And so you're going to be going back and forth a lot. So these beginning steps look kind of strange. But that's my darkest marker. Then I'm going to come in with my medium marker, which is B24. And this is where this light source becomes very important. Because what's going to happen is one side of your pleat is going to be bright, and it's going to be your highlight. And the other side of your pleat is going to be shadowed, or in the shading. So if my light source is coming from here, that means on the left-hand side of each of these lines, I'm going to leave it white for my highlight. So I am actually going to take my medium color and start putting my shading on the right-hand side, because that's the opposite side of my light source. I'm going to put that on the opposite side of each of those pleats. Okay, and again, I'm not being real particular, just kind of slapping those in. And then I'm going to come in with my lightest color and do the exact same thing. Just sort of softly expanding those a little bit and lengthening them a little bit, but making sure that I leave whatever side the light source is on, I want to leave that white. Okay, for now. We're eventually going to color it in, but for now it stays nice and white. Okay, and so this first stage is really just sketching out and planning where you want those pleats to be. Okay, so you'll notice each time I went in with the color, I went a little bit wider and a little bit longer. Okay? And that's basically the idea of pleats. So now you're going to go back and forth, and continue doing this over and over again until you start expanding and lengthening those until they start meeting. Okay? So again, with my darkest color, I'm going to come in and I'm going to add a little more dark to each of those areas. Expanding them, lengthening them. I'm not too worried about blending because I'm actually putting a lot of ink on as I go through this process, so the blending will happen. Okay, so now I'm back with my medium color. Now notice right here where these two are coming close together, I want to make sure that on this top one that comes down, on the left-hand side of that one, I want to make sure I keep a space white. So when I'm coming over with the dark or the medium tone here on this bottom one, I want to make sure I don't go too far over into the right, onto the right-hand side. And that's the same with all of these. You want to make sure that you leave a space so that those highlights are staying white. You don't want to expand too far into those and cover those up. Okay, but you can see I'm starting to really expand these areas. Okay, and with my light, continuing, being very careful to leave a white space there for my highlight. Now towards the bottom and the top, you're actually going to start meeting these. These are going to start coming together, and so you don't need to worry about that white space because it will start filling in. Okay, and so you can see it's just a process of back and forth, back and forth. So it's starting to come together. So now I'm back with my dark, and again, expanding, darkening. Because we're going dark to light on this, it really does, when we go over the dark areas with our light marker, it really does lighten everything up a bit. So that's why I go in with my dark again and really sort of expand those out again. Just darken that back up because you're going to lose a lot of that dark by doing this. Now this is just a very quick tutorial for this, so it's not super neat. It is a little bit messier than if I were taking my time to do an actual image with this. Okay, so now I'm back with my medium and I'm expanding. Oops, sorry, that was my light. I grabbed the wrong marker. Okay, now I'm with my medium. It kept getting really light and I couldn't figure out why. Had the wrong marker. Okay, and really starting to kind of come together here. Notice I've closed up the bottom here, and I can probably close up all these other areas also. And it's really going to start looking kind of zigzaggy, and that's okay. Remember, these are pleats and not actual folds. And you're just going to play with this until you get the results that you want. And now back with my light. Of course, this area would be filled in over here too. Back with my light on each of those. Really, I'm just working on the right-hand side of each of those pyramids or triangles that I started with. Okay. Connecting at the top and bottom. Just sort of expanding and lengthening, expanding and lengthening. And this is where it starts to blend because you're really coming in and using quite a bit of ink to expand those areas. And so it's really starting to look like those pleats. And so again, I'd probably go back in one last time. We're going to give that, darken that up a little bit. Darken up these areas. You can see definitely how much going back over the dark with the light really has lightened up. So you do lose a lot of contrast by going dark to light. But to get this result with these pleats, this is how you want to do it, is go dark and then expand out. Okay, so now I'm with my medium. And I'm really covering up a lot with this medium color. Just making sure that I keep those highlights that I want really nice and white at this point. Okay. And then with my lightest, kind of go over, blend it all together a little bit, keeping those white areas highlighted. And then when it gets to the point where I think I'm pretty much done, then I'm going to go over with my light and I'm going to hit those highlighted areas. So they're not stark white, but they don't have lots and lots of layers of the different colors on them. So they stay very, very bright. Okay. Maybe give it 1 or 2 more little hits. And I do like to darken up the bottoms a little bit in some of my areas, and map possibly the tops, and really keep those centers nice and bright. Okay. And that is what is going to give you some pleats. Now you can go back in and kind of rework this. But in the next video, I'll actually show you how to do this and translate this idea onto a stamped image, and we will put pleats on her. Okay? So thank you for stopping in. Until the next time, happy coloring.